If you don't know anything about Travis Stevens, which I know you're a liar, because he had one of the monstrous games you can ever have in college football with 17 carries, 226 yards, and 2 touchdowns to absolutely crush the Gators' throat.
Of course, everybody nervous. I was nervous as well, but it was one of those games where, I was fortunate to get in a zone, in zone with, it seemed like everything went right. Nothing went wrong.
Coach Fulmer was instrumental, and I remember him saying this before the season, and I remember him saying, this is the best team that I've ever coached, the most talented.
Just had me emotional because of, that was almost like, I thought I was going to be a hero,
Hey guys, this is your host, Dustin Colquitt, HangTime, Vol for Life edition. Today we're going to have Travis Stevens on in the studio and talk about his glory days at Tennessee and his 2001 game against Florida down in the swamp, brought to you by Rock Media. Tune in. One of my favorite running backs that I've ever gotten to play with, and a guy that is close to all of you Vol for Life, but also Vol Nation, is Travis Stevens, and we have him on today for our Vol for Life highlight, and can't wait to sit down and talk with him. If you don't know anything about Travis Stevens, which I know you're a liar, because he had one of the monstrous games you can ever have in college football with 17 carries, 226 yards, and 2 touchdowns to absolutely crush the Gators' throat. One thing that we will talk about during the course of this is the latest we've ever played the Gators, despite the 2001, which was moved because of the tragic events of 9/11. It's a Salute to Service Month. We're always thankful for our troops overseas, allowing us to have the freedoms we have in this great country, the greatest country in the world. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to Travis Stevens, one of the most electric backs that you've ever seen, and one person that I have seen personally be able to vault over an offense and defensive line and reroute mid-trajectory and dive in the end zone against LSU. Do you remember that play?
Man, I don't know about that. You give me too much credit on that. Yeah.
I've never seen anybody reroute themselves in midair.
Nah, you give me too much credit, man. I wish I was Superman.
That looked like Superman with a change of direction.
That's what's up. But yeah, we had
some good times. Go ahead, man. This is your show. We're just excited that you came on, and man, it has changed. I know you get to come up every now and again. We got to catch up earlier today, and you said that it's the first time you've been back to homecoming in 5 years. What was that like?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Dustin. Man, it's just been a pleasure. Just I'm a football fan for life, just a fan of football. But always, going up to UT has always been, blessing. Just seeing the fans, and I think we got the biggest fan base of all of college football. Being from Tennessee and just seeing it compared to other schools that I've been to. But homecoming, I hadn't got a chance to come up to homecoming in about 6-7 years. But each year I try to make two big games a year. But it was fun getting to see some of the guys during homecoming that normally I don't see. So I can't name them all, but it was a lot of guys that I hadn't seen in years that I got to see in homecoming this past weekend.
Well, finally, with homecoming, that's one of those games that you can kind of pad your stats a little bit historically, and you have a New Mexico State team that have had guys, really, really, really good players that have gone on and had good NFL careers, and we got to have them at home. And I think the one thing when I think about homecoming is I love all the festivities of all the fraternities, the sororities, the competitions, just the celebration of Tennessee Vol football. But this is your chance to kind of come back and catch up with fans, and they're screaming your name for some of the things that you put down into stone, records I'm talking about, while you were here and while you were a Vol. And usually during these homecoming games and these big SEC headers, you don't have time to do that. It's strictly business.
Yeah.
You go into the office, you're trying to get cleaned up from the week before, getting all the brews, and getting in the training room, getting in the hot and cold tub, going through the plays. And so this was a chance for you to come back and kind of reconnect with fans, and also guys that you're going to class. That's one thing that we weren't used to when we were in school.
Right.
If you said we got online class, we'd be going, what's online class?
Right.
What's that like?
Right, yeah. I think that, well, actually, it started like maybe toward the middle end of my year. I had like 1 or 2 online classes, but yeah, just coming back, man. The incredible thing about it is the fans, man. They remember like games like this, like coming up the Florida game. Of course, they always remind me of that, and they, that's a historic game in itself, being, when it happened in, 01, and it had to be pushed back because of 9/11, and the implications for that game is, whoever won that game was going to, had a chance to go into the, SEC title game, and also a chance to play for the national title as well. So, but the fans, man, just coming back, man, you should see the excitement from them, man. It makes me excited about always coming back to to Knoxville, because they always recreate those moments that you had, that you given them throughout your career when you were there.
No, you're absolutely right, and it's. When you talk about, they always talk about the Florida game, there's a reason behind that. They call it hate week. We call it hate week, and it's different. We can say it's just a normal game. Every SEC game, is equally important. Yes, is there a huge target on your back when you go into that game? Yes. But really, you're trying to win every game and every SEC game. I know that when I reconnect with fans, I love talking about the Miami game, the Miami punt at the end of the game. But really, when you look back, man, I love the South Carolina games, the 5 punt overtime game in Tuscaloosa. When I look at your legacy and what you created in fans, and why I'm excited to share this podcast of HangTime is not just the Florida game, because you have a very unique story, and a lot of people in this day and age, when you have a guy playing a couple years, and as soon as he's not playing because of depth in the backfield or whatever it may be, he's transferring, going to another school. And you have a very, very real story where you play 2 years, you redshirt, and then you come back and have one of the biggest running back seasons of all time, right up there with Reggie Bush, over 1,400 yards. I mean, it was something that we fans these days would closely resemble to, like a Dylan Sampson. He had a great year last year, a bunch of touchdowns. Doak Walker, you guys share, some of those. Your name was tossed around in that. Ray Guy, I had that, never got it. But it's one of those things, that is why that you're celebrated as a Tennessee player. Talk about this week, Hell Week, going into that preparation. Everybody says it's just it's a football game. You prepare everyone. It's true, but it's Florida. Take us back to 2001, late in the year, knowing we win this game, we punch our ticket to the SEC championship game the next weekend. What does that look like? What is that game prep? Because I know you're running harder, and you're seeing these massive shoulder pads coming downhill. There's not a lot of people that look like a skier going on a downslope like you did, shooting through those holes that your offensive line made for you.
Yeah, like I said, well, Florida's always been a big game during my time, even, from when I got there in 97, to 2001. So it's always been a big game. But of course, that was a even bigger game, because not only just pushed back in the toward the end of the year, because both of us was 9-1 at the time. And like I said, we had a chance, either the winner had a chance of getting to the national title game. But, going to that game, you just wanted to, as any player that wants to be ready and prepared to and play in a big game, because that's what we play, that's what we play the game for, to play in big games like a Florida game, which that game was a big game. So, of course, everybody nervous. I was nervous as well, but it was one of those games where, I was I was fortunate to get in a zone, in zone with, it seemed like everything went right. Nothing went wrong. So with the line blocking, of course, we had an awesome line. I mean, we had Fred Rury, had Reggie Coleman. He had, Scott Wells, and Anthony Herrera. We had a lot of guys that were, allow that big game to happen for me. So, as long as in the defense, you had John Henderson, Albert Hainsworth, everybody was prepared and locked in, because not only that, they had us 20-point underdogs going into the game. So,
right.
That did initiate a fire in all of us. We felt disrespected because we felt like we were just as good as the team we were playing. And, a lot of, reporters and, people talking, they use they use history as that's what's going to beat us. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel that way. I feel like, every year it's a new team, it's new players. So, this was a different, this was a different feel, going into that game, in 01.
Yeah, when I look back at that game, I'll always remember Coach Fulmer's speech in that game, just how his big thing was eye contact. You knew when he made that eye contact, he was dead serious, and we were not walking out. We're not getting on a plane with an L, and that was very clear and apparent. I know as the punter, I don't want to screw it up, right? I'm trying to be a weapon. I'll be a part of the game, but when somebody has 17 rushes for 226 yards and 2 touchdowns, like, you're not punting very much. It just it doesn't happen. Right. And as a freshman, I was super thankful for the game that you had, because I only punted one time, and I think there might only been 3 punts in the whole game.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't even realize that.
And so and I didn't hold either. John Henderson, the other John Henderson, was the holder in that game, and so I was just sitting there the biggest cheerleader for you guys. Can you take us back to a certain play in the game that sticks out to you, that you knew, like the first time you cut it loose? Like, can you take us back to that time where you said, this is going to be a grind. It's going to come down to end. It's going to come down to, 60 minutes, a 60-minute ball game. What was that play that you said, it's on today? We got this. We're flying back to Knoxville.
I didn't, I know it was going to be a battle, a hard-fought game, the whole, the whole game, so every play I took it as the last play, it was, I had to make a play, not really make a play, but I wanted to make sure, I was prepared and focused and zoned in. So I was, zoned in, but I do remember, I don't know if the last big run that I made, they didn't have, wish they had on camera, but I was raising how loud it is in Florida. It's like one of the loudest. It's the loudest stadium outside of Knoxville, I believe. Out there in college football. But before that last play, I felt in the zone, and the crowd is what pumped me up. Usually when the crowd is into a game, they kind of distract you. But I raised my hands. I was pumping my hands up like this to tell them to get louder, and that's when I made another big play. It was like a 60-yard run. That 60-yard run. So I was like, get loud, like it wasn't going to affect me. I was in the zone. So I do remember that critical moment then. So, that was a big play that kind of, I think that's when we went up by a score. And I don't know if it was 2 scores, but we went up by 8 or 7 or 8 or whatever. But I do remember that play toward the, I think it was third, fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a special play. And it's one of those things where I always, as a punter, I'm thinking all right, we're going to punt here. It feels like it. And then you break another run. And you're just like, man, I'm not even going to get to – I'm not even going to be on the stat sheet. This is great. And you're right. There is something about going down to Florida, to Gainesville. I know you stay. I think we still stay in the same hotel. You feel like you're on the episode of Forensic Files,
right? A
little bit down there. It's the Gene Short capital of the world. Yeah, down there in Gainesville, Florida. And not to say anything bad about them. It's the truth.
Right,
and,
you're right.
I just look back at some of those big victories. After I think it was Jabbar Gaffney broke our backs in the end zone right there towards the end of the game in 2000 in Neyland. And, we're like, we got to pay these back. And in fact, we were that class of 2000 was the first team to win back-to-back and not lose. That class never lost in Florida. So that was something that we kind of, in Florida. And so it's something that we kind of hung our hat on and just really, really loved. So in 2001, you rushed for over 1,400 yards. You mentioned a lot of guys on the offensive line. Offenhuzel, I think about him sometimes. Yep. Oh my gosh, like he was a big boy, a big presence inside for you. Talk about the Neyland effect. We talked about the Swamp a little bit. I want to give that place as little time as possible on this HangTime podcast. But talk about all the new changes. I remember the first year coming back for an extended period of time. It has been 2003. I was in Kansas City for almost 18 years, and so coming back, I didn't recognize the place. The indoor complex that me and you remember, 70 yards long, the weight room's half his size. We're on the Olympic size. These kids, and through this NIL space, and it's totally changed the game. It's a rocket race of facilities and the constant turnover, bigger, better. Talk about what you've seen in the college football space now and all of these buildings and the stadium. We got a DJ, Sterl the Pearl. It's a full July 4th fireworks show. Right. I mean, you're buying a ticket to a football game, but it's really a concert. Yeah, it's like it's the whole theatrics, everything is just amazing. It's like I would love to play in something like that, as a draw for, recruits coming in, because I was just looking at a thing on social media, Instagram. It was saying like everybody's talking about Neyland Stadium is like the #1 college stadium ever just to go experience and watch a game, So, like we didn't have that, night game where, how right now it's like, you get of course you have the fireworks, but the lighting, the whole lighting, the decor of running through the tee with the lights up, with the lit up tee, that's something right there in itself. And like you said, with Sterl the Pro, we didn't have we didn't have a DJ, a live DJ, there on the field. Yeah, I think it's amazing what they've done. All the video boards, the light show. I think the only thing is, I know you're still working out. I think you worked out before you jumped on this podcast. We could sign you to a 72-hour, 3-day contract and let you do 226 yards again. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Yeah. They say I can look like it, but the field is totally different, man. I feel like a broken down, like said, dog years. Like I'm 100 dog years right now, 100 football years. So, but nah, like I said, if I had a son, my mama had me born. If I was born 20 years ago, I would love to play in this type of environment or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I always love watching the game of football. Being involved for life, man, it's just been amazing, throughout the time of before getting to the University of UT, and then living in, I live down here near Nashville in Hendersonville, and just like every day, that's all, the fans, you see them, all around, talking about football season, even off season and on season. So it's like a year-round thing around here in Tennessee. Yeah, it's come a long way since 1906. The chancellor declared a dig day to dig the foundations of what eventually would, I don't know if they envision this place entertaining a third deck on top of the riverside of the stadium, which I can't even fathom that, right now. But I think that groups like The Rock, I think we would have thrived in this NIL space. I really do. I think 2001, Coach Fulmer was instrumental in. I remember him saying this before the season, and this is my first year playing. I redshirted in 2000, and I remember him saying, "This is the best team that I've ever coached, the most talented." Yeah. Speak to that, because you got to play a lot of guys. A lot of guys played a lot of NFL football. You yourself, 119th overall in the 2002 draft. But I ended up getting drafted going to Kansas City. But really, my best and favorite times was that authentic Pro football is wonderful. I love it. It's great for our families. And that college environment, though, where you go and you stay and you play, talk about that feel, because that goes on forever. That's just not your contract. That is something that you'll always be a VFL.
Right. I love I really enjoyed the college life, and I try to live in the moment as long as I could. I didn't want to take it for granted. And not only that, just the structure of how, the scheduling, of course everything was on a schedule, but the structure of how everything was like on a time schedule. I love that. I love the discipline. I love, of course, everything that football teaches you, but the players that we had in that system, like you said, man, we had a bunch of great players, like no attitudes, it was no real big distractions throughout that time period. And that, of course, like you alluded to, Coach Fulmer saying that was one of his best teams that he's coached. And I've heard that too. I've heard that too from him personally. I visited with Fulmer this past at homecoming. I went to his box, and he talked a little bit about that '01 team. So I enjoyed everything, and I didn't really want to right now, like you said, in the NIL world right now, I would love just to try to stay in college 10, 20 years if I could. So, right. Yeah, because like I said, you can, take care of your families and still be comfortable in the environment of a college, a college field, instead of the pressure of, how it is when you get to the league, the NFL. So, the college lifestyle, I've always, have, great memories of that time from when I got there to '01. And like I said, it'll never leave me.
Yeah, and I think what I love about the University of Tennessee is how they're reinvesting in their student athletes and also in their facilities. They're asking players, how you sleeping, making sure they're getting to bed on time, making sure they're in the classroom. Every meeting, I know that these guys are over there. They're throwing their GPA up there on the board. And you better believe I'm upset if the specialists aren't at the top.
Right.
I'm getting after them. But I do love seeing more and more families and siblings and just really, and the way Knoxville is developing, the restaurants, the nightlife, you see dorm rooms going up, $100 million baseball stadium. And that really drives, 61,000 applicants, to try to come to this university. They want to stay here. I hosted a family probably about 4 or 5 weeks ago that is sending their son down from Chicago. Yeah. And they're wanting to move to Knoxville now. It's catching fire, and that has a lot to do with Coach Heupel, the coaching staff, that he's intact, and also Danny White, making sure players know, like, hey, we want to pay you. We want you to come here, and we want you to perform. And it's not in that order. He wants good guys that love football. And I think we had that in 2001. And why I say that about 2001 is when we go down and we play Michigan, I think they talk trash the entire week, and we said nothing. We were dancing on the buses. We were having fun by ourselves. But whatever competition it was, we kind of said, we'll let the game speak for itself, and what happened in that bowl game. Right.
Yeah, Michigan was, of course, that was that was a blowout, really. Yeah.
Oh man, 45-17, and I think we were taking people out. I think you were. I don't think you had your helmet anymore in the third quarter.
I didn't. Yeah, it was over. I remember when you see Jason Witten outruns, defensive backs. you know they was in for it. I was like, man, yeah, because Jason's a tight end, so yeah. When you outrunning, got speed guys, yeah, they knew they were in for a long game. So. Then one of my teammates that I got drafted with, Marquise Walker, the receiver for Michigan, was my draft mate that next year. So we always talked about that game as well. But yeah, definitely. Just coming to Knoxville, the attraction, really, like you alluded to, the any kid that sees that visit that campus, I don't see why they would say no to coming to Tennessee. because they have a lot to, just to see when they come there. It's a lot to offer.
And the dorms, Smokies.
Yeah,
I mean, we were in Gibbs.
Yeah, Gibbs.
Travis.
Yeah, Gibbs.
It's the Taj Mahal now.
I see that.
I would move my 5 kids.
Yeah,
right now.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Gibbs. Then they turned out what Stokely's is now a parking lot now, I believe, a parking garage. So, but it's changed. It's a lot of it's changed. Like I said, that and the weight room moved to the other side of the complex or whatever, and then I think it seems like every time I go up there, they're doing something new. So they're renovating. They were renovating when I went up there for homecoming. So they were doing something else there on the other side. So yeah, they're making it very appealing to anybody to come visit.
It's called renovating your renovations.
Right.
And they're the best at that. Danny White is not afraid to reinvest the money back in the facility and the campus. And I remember before I came back in 2018 for the first time, I remember people going to a game at Tennessee saying, "Man, your all's campus is beautiful." And I remember going like, "What are you talking about?" And then you finally go back after you leave in 2005 and you've been gone for 10 plus years and you go, "Oh my gosh, they've just, man, it's beautiful there." I want to ask this because I want to make a little transition here. And when I watch you run, and I'm going to say this because when I watch you run and when you watch highlights of your playing days here in Tennessee, you remind me of Barry Sanders, the way he has that wide shuffle. And then you weren't afraid for when guys go down to hit you to lower that helmet and just literally bulldoze over them. Talk to me about the few backs that we have. One also from Tennessee, Deshaun Bishop. We've got a host like you're used to, very deep in the running back position. It's fun watching those guys. Talk about those guys, and if there's any advice, they'll be tuning in and seeing this. And talk about your time to how the game's changed and what they're doing for our offense and opening it up.
Yeah, it was different. I came up, my idol growing up was Walter Payton. And that's what he was.
Sweetness.
Yeah, sweetness. Yeah, he would, he can outrun you or, make a move on you based off the leverage of the defender. So just like you said, if a defender breaks down, that means if I'm going full speed, I have leverage. I can run through him, Of course, I'm not going to go head up with any, like an Al Wilson or something. If he's coming straight at me, I have to try to make a miss because that's a lose-lose. So it was all about leverage. If I see somebody off balance, I have that opportunity to go ahead. If I'm going full speed, I love contact, so that allowed me to run through them. They can't especially if they don't wrap my legs up. So and that's what that's part of being a running back. And the game has changed from back then when we played. You see the system. We were more of an I formation. Zone read and off tackle stuff like that back then. But now it's a more spread offense and shotgun throwing to the back out the backfield now. So it's a little bit different the way the offensive systems are set up. But these guys are big, man. I looked at a Bishop, all those guys, man. Those guys are much bigger than me. I wasn't that big, but I like what these guys are doing. You would need a 3-headed monster, especially in this system, because Heupel, like you said, he's snapping plays every damn 5 seconds, it seems like. So you definitely need your win, and in a system like that, you have to be like fully conditioned, like 10 times over than what I was, because we got 30 seconds to 40 seconds to huddle up and get to line back up. But I don't know if I would thrive in this system. I don't, but these guys that are doing it, I really commend them on great job in dealing with what they have to deal with.
Well, if we fast forward and put your 2001 self into 2025, I never ever saw you turn your helmet to the side and try to shoulder somebody. You used that triangle. You had that helmet into your shoulder pads, and you were delivering blow even though you're on offense. That's just how you ran the ball, and it was so fun to watch. I want to ask you, and I know your time is valuable. I know you got a lot of stuff going on that post-interview, but what would you say? I know there's tons of things you could say about this, but what would you say was your favorite moment when you look back at your Tennessee days that you're like, man, that, some of the best 4 and 5 years kind of your life, but Tennessee football, what is that moment that you're like, man, that just got me right in the heart?
A big moment that, after because my father passed away in 2000. So, that Georgia game I had, it was a screen pass to get the go ahead lead for that game. That I know I remember that moment because I was in tears after that. I thought, we won, even though we were favored by 2 scores that game, but Georgia played us tough. And we was in a dogfight to the end. So, just in a losing effort, not an effort, losing effort, but, we lost that game. But I know that moment of, scoring that screen pass at the end with 40 seconds left, that really was, a big moment for me individually. But of course, the national championship, winning that in 98 was, probably the ultimate as far as, that's what you come to play the game for, is winning, a championship. So, I was fortunate to come in as a freshman, true freshman, true sophomore, to win 2 SEC titles in a national title game within, that short period of time. And then, but individually, of course, I would say that Georgia game in a losing effort, like I said, it just had me emotional because of, that was almost like I thought I was going to be a hero, at that moment, but you still lost that game. But that was a thought that I had with my father because he had passed away the year before.
Yeah, that's got to be a special moment. He was looking down and just super pumped. It's something that he raised you, put you in that spot. God doesn't make mistakes, and he put you in that moment for that reason. Right. And that's super exciting. I know that anytime that when tragedy strikes, we have opportunities to jump back up and punch the ticket and turn something like that into something very special. So I'm glad you did that. That's a great story. Man, I appreciate you coming on today. Vol for Life. You're always special. You're always welcome here. I know that Coach Hype would extend all that. He does to all of the Vol for Lives. He wants people back in the room anytime they can. Those running backs would love you there. Fortunate we got to catch up earlier today and on this podcast. Yeah. Next time, I told you on the phone, though, you got to let me know when you're in town so we can hang out.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I got you. Definitely. I got you. No doubt.
All right. Well, much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for coming on this edition of HangTime.